How was Texas architecture influenced by geometry? We will look at 6 different periods of historical Texas architecture, beginning with the Indian pre-colonial period. These early Indian tribes were nomadic, moving in search of food and optimal weather. Their shelters were temporary, built from animal hides and wood. How can wood be changed to create a geometric structure? Depending upon the geographic region of Texas, different natural resources were available for building. In northeast Texas, 1,200 years ago, earthen mounds were used as dwellings. How do you think these lines and curves work together for these mounds? Along the Trans-Pecos and Panhandle region, adobe was used. What can you tell about the shape of these Indian buildings? Why do you think the Indians made them into these shapes? How are these Pueblo houses different from the Caddo houses? How are the lines different? During the Spanish colonial period, 26 missions were built in Texas. Missionaries and soldiers brought their construction and design methods, and these were influenced the Spanish colonial homes. By 1750, all missions were abandoned and desecularized. This is the Alamo. It was used as a fort. What types of lines and angles do you see in the Alamo? Why does it have a tall center front? Mexican period. There was little architectural development during this period due to political and religious conflicts. During the Republican antebellum period, cultural influences were brought to Texas from around the world. One European influence were the porches that were added to buildings. Why are the roofs of these early farmhouses so different from previous historical buildings? What types of angles are used on the roofs? During the Greek Revival period, communities developed, families wanted nice, neat, tidy homes to live in, and this is featured in the symmetrical designs of homes. Everything was very balanced, equal number of windows on each side, equal number of rooms. These plantations had Greek columns on the front porches, reflecting form and balance. During this period, the Chisholm Trail brought economic advancement and development to Texas. The Chisholm Trail supported cattle and cowboy, and the towns were designed and trading posts to support the needs of the travelers. The Chisholm Trail later became the early Texas Railroad. The development of the railroad encouraged economic development as well as brought in different materials. The Victorian style reflects the rapid expansion in new fortunes and revolutionary changes that were going on during this period. Homes became much more picturesque. Notice the lines in this building. Why does this house appear to seem so far off the ground? This is a Victorian mansion in Galveston. Notice the elaborate building materials, the non-symmetry. This is the birthplace of President Dwight Eisenhower. It's a simple Victorian home. His father worked for the railroad. This is St. Mary's Church in Galveston. Notice the pitched roofs and pointed arches. Do all geometric shapes in building have a purpose? The approach of the 20th century brought lots of changes to buildings. Electricity, sewage systems, telephones. What happened to homes during this period to reflect this changes. This is an octagon house designed by Orson Fowler. It is increased air circulation and provide optimal sunlight. What was happening culturally that these needs were needed? People wanted a better living environment. During the early 20th century, we saw the development of the modern prairie-style home developed by Henry Troust, who was a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, you'll be building a model and creating a presentation. For your model, please plan carefully, using as geometric accuracy. Models should be built to scale. They should reflect the historical period that you're studying, as well as the presentation. So make sure you use references as well to cite where you get your work. Thank you.